It's that time of year again. The holidays are upon us, bringing with them feasts, gifts, fellowship, and joy. The trees will be going up if they haven't already. The turkey's in the oven. The hustle and bustle of holiday shopping is about seeking out that perfect gift for that special someone. Maybe there'll be snow where you live this year. What a magical time of year. Magical? Maybe I should say stressful. For many people around the world, the holiday season brings all of these things I've mentioned, but it also brings with it an enormous amount of stress. Financial stress, the stress of finding that right gift, the stress of finding the right gift for someone that you initially overlooked, the stress of hosting dinners and parties, the stress of holiday travel, whether that's venturing through the airports hoping to make your flight, or driving over snow-covered roads. For many of us, it is this stress that overshadows the joy of the holiday season, turning what should be a peaceful time of year into our least favorite time of year. So how do you cope? How do you cut through the stress to return that joy? How do you avoid a Clark Griswold level meltdown? Join me as I identify some of the key stressors that we may experience and offer some insights and tips for managing that stress today on Your Mind On Holiday Stress. Welcome back, everyone, and welcome new listeners. And to our U.S. listeners, happy Thanksgiving. I'd like to say that this year I'm thankful for each and every one of you that it takes the time out of your week to listen to me as I dig into the psychology topics that interest me. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I've finally managed to make it happen, and I greatly appreciate each and every one of you that listens in. That being said, I'm glad you've joined me today. I hope you've had a fantastic week and that our previous topics have helped you gain some insights into your own lives or at least have given you something to mull over. I don't have a lot in the way of administrative notes for today. Your Mind On podcast is now on Instagram. I'm not great with social media, but I'm going to try to make at least a couple of posts each week relating to the topics we've covered, maybe a brief teaser on upcoming episodes, and additional bits of psychology tidbits here and there. Also, I'm excited to announce that in January, I will begin working on my master's in clinical mental health. Once again, if you enjoy the podcast, please be sure to rate and follow on whatever platform you choose to listen from. And if you have comments, questions, or topic suggestions, please reach out to me at hello@yourmindonpodcast.com or now on Instagram as well. And with that, let's dive into today's topic, holiday stress. So when I first had the idea for this topic, I was initially going to make it about managing stress on Thanksgiving in particular. But unfortunately, the idea for the episode came too late to focus solely on just that one holiday, particularly when that one holiday is, well, today. We have also started getting some international listeners, so discussing just Thanksgiving just doesn't serve everyone as well as I'd hoped. So I've taken a step back on the topic and broadened it to holidays in general. This episode won't be diving into history as we have in past episodes, but we'll focus on the potential stressors you might have during the holiday season and what you can do to ease that stress. So, when there are so many causes of stress this time of year, where do we even start? I guess the best place is to identify the general main causes of stress that people experience during the holidays and tackle them one at a time. I'm sure there will be other forms of stress that people might experience at the holidays that I just don't cover here, but I tried to get the biggest ones. So let's start with hosting feasts and parties or other holiday events. Hosting a great party is one of the most rewarding parts of the holiday season. You're bringing people together, sharing great food and drinks, reminiscing on old times, talking about current events, and just enjoying being together. But this can also be one of the most stressful parts of the holiday. You're making sure that everything is prepared, from food to drinks to desserts to even decor. How do you pull off the perfect holiday get together without burning out? Preparation and setting boundaries is the best place to start. Begin planning your holiday event early, and I don't mean just a week ahead of time. The goal here is to give yourself time to get everything done. Plan who you're going to invite and request RSVPs so that you know how many people are actually going to be coming. And be sure that those RSVPs come in well in advance. This will give you time to make sure you have enough seating, enough utensils, plates, foods, and drinks. But the planning doesn't stop there. Do a dry run. Once you know how many people will be there, spend some time laying out the dishes and utensils on the table to make sure everyone will have enough room and that there's a place for everyone to sit. And be sure you leave a few extra spaces for those people who just don't get around to doing the RSVP. Next, plan out your menu. This is one area where people make mistakes. When we host a party, particularly during the holidays, we want it to be a great experience for everyone that comes. We want them to remember such an amazing party, and often to do this, we plan out a menu that is just, well, too complex. What you should do is, weeks before the party, list out the essentials that you will need to cook. For Thanksgiving, that could be turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, potatoes, and gravy. These are the foods that most people would consider the core of the Thanksgiving essentials. That could be different for a Christmas or New Year's party, but I think you get the idea. Once you have your list of essential foods, organize your recipes. Make a shopping list. And most importantly, figure out how long each item will take to prepare and cook. If you can make things ahead of time and reheat them, then you should absolutely do that. Sure, you probably don't want to serve a reheated turkey for Thanksgiving, but things like pies can be done the day before or even a couple of days before. Dinner rolls is another example. You can bake those ahead of time and then reheat them right before it's time to serve dinner, and no one will know the difference. It's going to be just fine. Once you have your cooking timeline for the essentials outlined, then add in other food items if you feel like you will have enough time to cook everything. But know your limits with time. People will appreciate better quality food more than they will enjoy a large spread. But what about the picky eaters? The vegetarians, the vegans, people with dietary restrictions, medical conditions, and so on. Again, know your limits. It's impossible to prepare everything for everyone exactly the way they all want it. You can consider substituting out one of the essential foods for something that fits more with people's dietary preferences and requirements, but if you can't make substitution and just don't have the time to do it all without suffering a meltdown, work with the person with the restrictions. Let them know what foods you're planning to prepare, and ask them if they can offer some assistance. For example, if they're a vegetarian, ask them to prepare something that they would enjoy in place of turkey, and then see if they can bring enough so that other people will have the option to try eating that as well. This will show them that you are thinking of them and their needs, possibly will increase the amount of food you have without adding extra work for yourself, and help you keep your stress levels at a manageable level. And don't be shy about dividing up tasks. Give your family members a list of what you expect them to do to help. Ask friends or other people that will be coming if they can help with something. Don't put the burden of throwing the perfect party squarely on your own shoulders. And if you have outlined your plan of action and it feels overwhelming to look at, then it's probably going to feel overwhelming to do. One great option is to plan to make one or two things and have everyone else that's coming bring a dish, more of a potluck style. With proper planning, you can divvy up the menu among people coming and make sure you don't wind up with 16 pies and no side dishes. So now you have your plan of action, and you've done a dry run of setting the table or tables, The next thing you need to focus on is shopping. So this feels like a good place to talk about financial stress with the holidays. I'm going to broaden this out to include shopping for gifts as well, since they all tie nicely together. Holiday shopping can be brutal. There is a lot of food to buy, gifts to pick up, and of course the decorations as well. For some, this is a really enjoyable part of the holidays, but for many people, it's the worst part. Thankfully, there are some good tips out there to help manage this stress as well. First, and most importantly, lay out your budget. Before you ever set foot in a store for any kind of holiday shopping, sit down and write out on paper or in a spreadsheet your entire budget and how much you're allotting for each category: food, gifts, decor, things like that. Figure out what your spending limits are, and then shop around. Now, I know that during the holidays, our free time can really be at a premium, but thankfully we've got technology at our fingertips. Look online for sales on ingredients you need for your dishes and for deals on the gifts that you want to give, but be sure you're staying within your budget. Another great tip here that I'll just interject, it's not as much financial stress, but if you're struggling with time management, consider ordering grocery delivery. That will save you a ton of time, but it may come at the expense of maybe some questionable produce. We often want to achieve perfection during the holidays. The perfect feast, the perfect decorations, the perfect gifts for everyone. This is pretty natural, but we need to take a step back here. Perfection is generally an unobtainable goal. You can drive yourself crazy trying to find that absolutely perfect gift for everyone. Instead of shooting for perfection, aim for practical. This works best for the people you know, people you spend a lot of time with. Think back over the past year. What are their hobbies? Their interests? What do they need or want that fits in with those things? When you take the time to think of things this way, you'll find that what you buy will be much more appreciated and used. It'll be more perfect than whatever you settle on when your search for perfection ends in disappointment. But what about that person that's hard to shop for? There are quite a few of those in my life, and I would say I'm probably one of them. If you can't come up with something for them, try thinking differently. Instead of trying to come up with some physical gift, try giving them an experience. Concerts, escape rooms, art or cooking classes. What I've found is that physical gifts tend to get forgotten over time, but an experience, that can build lifelong memories and will be appreciated so much more. But again, be sure you stay within your budget. The budget is everything. Now, if you're not hosting a party, but will be attending one instead, there is a totally different type of stress that you may experience. And how do you manage the stress of travel? Again, this is all in the planning. Leave early. Plan for bad weather. Sit back and relax as much as possible. Make sure you're packed ahead of time and have everything ready for travel before you're scheduled to leave. That way you're not rushing around at the last minute trying to figure out where your toothbrush went. Take snacks and drinks, as well as things to entertain the kids or the adults that aren't doing the driving. If you're flying, get to the airport early. There's a lot of jokes about dads in airports, but what sounds worse to you in terms of holiday stress? Getting to the airport a few hours before your flight and having to sit in a chair and wait? Or standing in line waiting to get through security while hearing the boarding announcement for your flight? Keep your eye on the weather and know that it is okay to cancel your travel plans if you don't feel safe or confident driving in bad conditions. People might be disappointed, but they should understand that safety comes first. Now, when it comes to holiday parties and get-togethers, we've covered the basics, but what about that elephant in the room? Seems like every family gathering, there's always that one person, or maybe several people, that we end up getting into a debate with, whether that's discussing politics, sports, movies, or even our personal lives. This is, for a lot of people, the worst part of the holidays and can cause a lot of stress, anxiety, and even dread. So how do you manage this to make sure that the celebration is enjoyable and as low stress as possible? Interpersonal stress is hard to manage. We cannot stop someone else from talking, but what we can do is control our own reactions. You know what topics you want to discuss and which ones you're likely to lose your cool over. Plan your strategies ahead of time. Set boundaries. When someone tries to talk to you about a topic that you don't want to discuss, simply tell them that you appreciate that they want to discuss the topic, but that you aren't interested in discussing that at the time. You can also deflect to some degree, even if a topic is one that you disagree with, especially something like politics. Rather than feeding the debate, use a line like, "Oh, that's a really interesting perspective. I'll have to look into that later." This serves to put an end to the debate or discussion, and it allows you to shift the conversation towards something you're more comfortable discussing. The important thing is to not engage. It doesn't matter what the conversation is, you have the option to join in or walk away. Often joining in will only lead to a more heated argument, so choose to walk away. People are usually pretty set in their ways when it comes to politics, sports, etc., and you're not going to change their mind on anything during the course of a meal or a party, so take the high road. Your own internal peace is far more important than trying to convince someone of something that they will not see your way. If you are the one striking up conversation, have a mental list of safe topics in mind. Make the choice to avoid topics that might or will lead to an argument. You cannot rely on other people to steer conversations into safer waters. It's something you need to do for yourself. Value your own peace of mind. And if that person insists on trying to drag you into a debate or an argument, it's perfectly okay to just walk away and start a conversation with someone else. And speaking of peace of mind, what if you're an introvert? The holiday gatherings can be a nightmare for introverts. Introverts get worn down quickly with a lot of social interaction. That generally doesn't pair well with the holidays, so how do you manage this? How do you enjoy holiday celebrations while still protecting your peace? It starts with understanding yourself. Know your limits and your needs. Find a quiet place that you can sneak away to for 5 minutes of quiet to let yourself decompress. This could be taking a few extra minutes while going to get a can of vegetables from the pantry, or even locking yourself away in a bathroom for a few minutes to just be quiet. Just don't linger too long. And make sure you talk about this with the people you are closest with. I will, for sure, have a conversation about this with my wife so that she knows that at times I may slip away for a few minutes, but that it's to center myself again and not just a way of avoiding people. Or maybe you're an extrovert, but you'll be with someone that is an introvert. If you notice that they seem to be getting agitated or look like they might be feeling overwhelmed, don't hesitate to come to their rescue. Tell them that you need to talk to them for a minute and pull them away somewhere private, and then just let them sit in silence and recover. And there are things you can do in between celebrations and events to manage your stress. Plan quiet evenings at home alone or with your family. Take some time to sip a nice warm drink next to the fire and just enjoy the quiet. Or maybe some soft holiday music. Allow yourself to get lost in thoughts and memories. And don't fall into the trap of alcohol. Having a drink here and there for most adults is fine, but know yourself and your limits. Keep it in moderation if you do choose to drink. Drinking in excess, it's never going to solve your holiday stress issues. Usually it's just going to lead to feeling pretty miserable the next day, and drinking too much definitely isn't going to help the holiday budget. Instead, maybe find that one holiday movie that you love or that you used to love as a kid and put that on to watch. Take the time to reflect on past holidays, especially the ones that are the most memorable for good reasons. Don't weigh yourself down with concerns of tradition. The great thing about traditions is that as they age and maybe become less relevant, you can change them. Don't cling to doing something a certain way just because that's always the way it's been done. The best advice I can give is to remember what the holidays are supposed to be about. It isn't about the gifts that you get or that you give. It isn't about throwing that party that people will remember for years. The holidays are about togetherness. It's about being with the people you care about and being thankful for what you have. It's about being grateful and showing gratitude. The holidays don't have to be perfect. In fact, often it's the ones that are less than perfect that are the most memorable. I've always enjoyed Thanksgiving, and there have been a lot of them that are very memorable. But I do want to share with you the one that stands out most in my mind, the one that was the most memorable. It wasn't because of a perfectly cooked turkey or a well-decorated home. When I was in high school, I had the opportunity to be an exchange student and study abroad for a year in Sweden. For the American listeners, this might come as a shock to some of you. Honestly, I hope it doesn't. But Thanksgiving generally isn't celebrated in other countries. So that year I was faced with the first year of my life that I would not have a Thanksgiving dinner. I was a little down about this, and I was talking to another exchange student that was from the United States about it, and we came up with an idea. We reached out to all of the other exchange students in our town, regardless of what country they were from, and invited them to my host family's house for a Thanksgiving dinner. Now, we were pretty tight on our budget, and of course, being 17, didn't have much in the way of skill when it came to cooking, so we came up with a different plan. We asked each of the exchange students to bring a food item that they love, especially foods from their own countries if possible. I explained to them that it wouldn't be a traditional Thanksgiving like we have in the United States, but that we would capture the spirit of what Thanksgiving was supposed to be about, sharing our abundance and enjoying the company of each other. Instead of turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, gravy, and all the foods we would typically associate with a Thanksgiving dinner, we had tacos and macaroni and cheese, and so many other great foods from around the world. Everyone had the opportunity to try foods that maybe they hadn't had before. We all ate, we laughed, and we celebrated together, simply thankful that we could all come together and share in this fantastic experience. And because of that, it will always be one of, if not the most favorite Thanksgiving I've had. And that should be what you truly strive for. So hopefully today I've given you some tips that you can use to make the holidays more enjoyable and help you reduce some of the stress. Remember, the holidays don't have to be perfect. If you get to celebrate with family, friends, and the people you're closest with, then they're already perfect. Don't get lost in striving for that ideal perfection, and don't get lost in materialism. Know your limits, plan ahead, set a budget, and try to spend more time focusing on the parts of the holidays that make them memorable. Today's episode was a lot less of a lecture, and it was a bit shorter than usual, but I hope that you've enjoyed it and gotten some useful tips. I hope that you have a fantastic Thanksgiving for those that are celebrating the day, and for those that aren't, I hope you have a great weekend ahead. And I look forward to having you back again next Thursday, where we will dive back into a bit of a deeper topic. Dissociative identity disorder. Or maybe you know it by its older name, multiple personality disorder. We've seen it portrayed in movies, television, and we've read about it in books. It's often hard to understand and sometimes even seems a little bit creepy. But what is it exactly? How does it happen? Can it be treated or cured? Is it even a real thing? Next week, we will get deep into the research to learn more about one of the most interesting disorders recorded in the annals of psychology. Thank you again for listening today, and I hope to see you all back here next week. Don't forget to rate and follow the show on your favorite platform, and check out the Instagram account, Your Mind On Podcast. This will help the show grow and continue to reach more people, and is always greatly appreciated. Please email any questions, comments, or suggestions that you might have to hello@yourmindonpodcast.com. Thank you again for listening today. I'm John Shaw, and remember, understanding your mind is the first step to changing your life. Until next time, be kind to yourself.